Hello Henry from Belgium here. Today I'm looking at Set 6552, Rocky River Retreat, released in 1993 within the town theme, more specifically in the leisure line. My copy is complete with all the parts, the box, the original inlay, and the manual, which is always an important part of the collector value, and the original presentation for a set from this period. With 241 parts, this is not a huge set, but there is a surprising amount included. You do not just get a small building or a single vehicle, but really a complete recreation scene around a remote place by the water. That is what makes this set interesting to look at more closely. It has a very distinct atmosphere within town, with many accessories and play features, but also a few choices that are worth looking at critically as both a collector and a builder. The box has a very typical early 90s Lego system look, bright, colorful, and very direct. The artwork places the set outside ordinary city life straight away. More free time, fresh air, and adventure than streets, shops, or public services. The back of the box is more interesting because it shows how broadly Lego wanted these parts to be used. The alternative models make clear that the set is not built around one fixed composition only, but that the same elements can be rearranged into several small scenes. Not everything is equally convincing, but it does show that Rocky River Retreat was designed as a collection of play elements, not as one closed model. The box is the regular version, without an opening outer flap or preview window. For a set with such a strong outdoor atmosphere, I would have liked to see a flap box here. It would have given Lego more room to show extra photos, play features, and small scenes. My box does show clear signs of use. At the top, you can see where a label was once removed. Personally, I usually prefer to leave those labels in place. An original price label or shop sticker bothers me less than glue marks or damaged print. A sticker like that also tells you something about the history of the copy, where it was sold, how it was priced, and how the set once appeared in the shop. I like the name Rocky River Retreat. 3 words, 3 times the same first letter, and at the same time, the name immediately tells you what the set is about. Rocks, water, and a remote place outside the city. The alternative name Coyote Canyon sounds a lot rougher. That name suggests more wilderness, danger, and almost a western feeling. That fits less with what you actually build here. Rocky River Retreat works better for me, because the focus is more on free time and outdoor life than on real adventure or danger. The manual is a practical A4 booklet that fits inside the box without being folded. It has 16 pages, and the drawings are clear, as you would expect from Lego in this period. The build is also divided in a logical way. You start with the Jeep, the trailer, and the boat, and after that, you build the complete outdoor scene with the baseplate, the cabin, the bridge, and the remaining details. At first glance, the parts do not immediately feel very coherent to me. There are many colors and quite a few different types of pieces here. Maybe I expected a little more visual uniformity. At the same time, there are some interesting elements right away. I can already see a suspension bridge, 2 different types of rock panels, printed slope bricks, and light gray parts that almost look as if they came from a castle set. It makes the selection feel a bit busy, but also quite interesting. The main question is whether all these separate colors and parts will come together into one convincing outdoor scene, or whether the final model will still feel a little scattered. There are 2 minifigures in this set, 1 man and 1 woman. The female figure is the more specific of the 2. She is not a regular town citizen, but a recreational outdoor figure, with the backpack and hat immediately fitting the setting. According to the inventories, this exact combination is unique to Rocky River Retreat. The individual parts are not exclusive, but as a complete figure, she belongs only to this set. A nice extra is the separate hairpiece. If you do not use the cowboy hat, the figure still looks complete, which gives a little more variation than you often get with town figures from this period. The male figure has a very different look. The green jacket, blue legs, red cap, and the face with sunglasses and stubble make him look tougher and more practical. He immediately feels like the driver of the Jeep, or someone working around this outdoor location. In this exact combination, he appears in only 2 sets according to the inventories. The blue legs and red cap are what make this version specific. With other colors or small changes, you see this type of figure more often in town around this period, as a driver, worker, or leisure figure. It is also interesting that both the face and the torso were new in 1993. That places him very clearly in the early 90s system period. He also comes with an extra headgear piece, a construction helmet. It is simple but useful. With the red cap, he reads more as a leisure figure. With the helmet, he fits better around the rocks, the bridge, or the maintenance of the location. Overall, the 2 figures are well chosen, but for a set with so many play elements, a 3rd figure would definitely have added something. An extra hiker, forest ranger, park worker, or even a thief could immediately have created another storyline. The horse partly makes up for that. Within this set, it almost works like an extra character. It adds another layer of play and makes the outdoor atmosphere feel broader. This is the version with printed black manes. The older horses without that black printing are often a little more desirable among collectors, especially because of their link with earlier castle sets. But this version fits the early 90s town period well. When the saddle is not used, the horse gets a simple finish with a brick and a tile on top. That stands out to me, because I would normally expect a plate. It is not a major collector detail, but it is a small finishing detail that is easy to overlook. The saddle is also the later type with 2 clips. In earlier castle sets, you still see the 1-clip saddle, but around 1990, that was replaced by saddles with 2 clips. That does not make this saddle extremely rare, but these are exactly the kind of details that help you place a set in the right period. And for me, with a complete vintage set, those parts simply have to be correct. As an extra animal, the set also includes a dark grey bird. In the inventories, it is described as a parrot, but in this dark grey color, it reads less like a tropical bird to me and more like a general wild bird for the outdoor scene. I would not attach a specific species to it, but it does help make the setting feel a little more alive. One of the most important parts in this set is the baseplate 32 by 32 with island and river pattern. This part is exclusive to this set, and for good loose examples, you can easily pay €10 or more today. I think the design works well, especially because LEGO did not simply print the river straight through the middle. The water is clearly placed more to one side, leaving enough room on one side for a larger build, and on the other side for landscaping, plants, or smaller details. The row of studs in the middle is also important. You get a building area of 2 by 14 studs, right in the river section. That makes this part much more useful. You can attach a bridge, rocks, or other constructions firmly to it, and that immediately opens up more possibilities for alternative models. I start by building the 4x4. Its construction immediately reminds me of the Jeep from Amazon Crossing. Compact, raised on its wheels, and clearly meant for a setting outside the regular city. What is missing here, however, is the spring mechanism with the red wheel holders. On a regular town car, that would not matter much, but in Rocky River Retreat, it would have made sense and would have made the vehicle feel a little more convincing. The 4x4 now gets its classic town construction, with plates, bricks, headlight bricks, mudguards, a steering wheel, and doors. That is all very recognizable for this period, but the rear section is more interesting than on a simple open Jeep. This part of the vehicle is closed off with 2 yellow 1x4x2 airplane-style window frames. In yellow, those parts appear in only a few sets. I mostly know them in white, where they are much more strongly associated with airplanes. After that, the 4x4 gets 2 folding roofs, one above the driver and one over the rear section. The rear roof even has an opening window, which gives the vehicle a little more detail than you might expect at first. The final equipment is well chosen too. The roof lights fit the outdoor character, and with the pickaxe and fishing line, the vehicle immediately gets useful gear. The fishing line also gets a round 1x1 plate as a small accent. It is very simple, but it makes the accessory feel a little more finished. The separation between the driver's area and the rear section is neatly done with a red modified 1x2 tile with bar handle. That feels like a deliberate choice, because it clearly separates the driver's area from the rear section instead of leaving the interior as one open space. I think the finished 4x4 looks quite good. The shape is compact, but not too simple, and the color palette works well. The yellow body, red accents, black wheels and light grey details give it enough contrast on its own, and it should stand out nicely later against the more natural colors of the outdoor scene. The speedboat is built in a fairly classic way, but here too, the finishing choices feel quite deliberate. The color palette matches the 4x4 nicely, light grey as the base color with yellow and red as accents. Even the hinge construction follows that scheme, with a grey base and a red moving section. The outboard motor works well because of the added hinge bar with 3 fingers and end stud, which gives the motor a clear handle. At the front, LEGO does not use a real windscreen, but a yellow modified 1x2 tile with bar handle. That is simple, but it fits the compact scale of the boat. Underneath, there is a black round 2x2 plate with rounded bottom. It gives the front a slight upward angle, almost as if the boat is lifting a little out of the water. And it also helps the model slide more easily over a base plate or table. A small part, but a well-chosen functional detail. As an extra, you also get a life jacket, still a fairly new LEGO accessory in 1993. And just like with the 4x4, I like that the driver's area is separated from the small storage section at the back. It gives the boat a clearer layout, and there is enough room there for something like the extra suitcase. The trailer is mostly functional. It uses just enough parts to make the idea believable, but not much more than that. A little extra decoration would have helped, and what I miss most is a small hinge or support leg that can fold down. Without that, the trailer only really works when it is attached to the 4x4. A simple stand would have made it feel more complete as a separate little model. Despite a few points that could have been better, I think this is a strong and functional result. The 4x4, trailer and speedboat almost form a small set on their own. Everything has a clear function: driving, transporting, and boating. So this does not feel like loose filler, but like a complete recreational vehicle setup with plenty of play value. For the outdoor scene, I start with a few parts that form the base of the build. It may look like a simple step, but it is actually very important. The first drawing in the manual usually shows from above exactly where those base pieces have to go. That is useful because you cannot really build this by instinct. You have to count carefully where the parts are placed. If you miss one position in this first step, the rest of the construction will not line up correctly later. Here is where the cabin will be placed. Next to it, I start building a rock formation, which will later be connected to the other side by the suspension bridge. At this stage, a large fence element appears right away. You find it in around 40 sets. In white, it is the most common, but in colors such as brown, black, yellow, and pink, it is immediately a little more special and less common. Here, it is mainly functional. It gives the build structure right away and fills a large part of the row of studs on the baseplate in one step. I also add some details right away, including a bed, a chair, a lantern, a brush, and a chainsaw. The chainsaw is especially interesting. This type of saw was new in 1993, and here it also has a white modified 1x1 tile with clip attached to it. So the saw is more than just a loose accessory. Later, the trees are built in a way that allows you to play as if they are being cut down. That creates a small storyline around chopping wood, or working around the cabin. Because of the rock panels, the wall panel, and the tall 1x1x5 and 1x2x5 bricks, you get results quite quickly. The actual building experience is therefore a little more limited, but I still enjoy it. You are constantly working on the whole scene, not on one separate zone. Everything is built a bit alongside each other, and that keeps the process varied and enjoyable. The two Slope 10 6x8 parts also stand out immediately because of their print. In this version, they appear in only 3 sets, and here they really work as an eye-catcher. There is quite a lot of small decoration, such as the water pump. Parts like that do not just fill the scene, they also create small play moments. The trees are one of my favorite building details. At the top, you get the small green pine trees, with the trunk suggested underneath by combining several brown, modified 1x1 by 2 bricks with shutter holder. Those parts are normally used around windows, but here the protruding sections work surprisingly well as rough tree bark. And because the parts are brown, the effect looks much more natural than it would in another color. You get 4 trees in different heights, from small to large. Together with the chainsaw, that immediately creates a clear play function. The minifigure can really work around the cabin as a woodcutter. The narrow side of the baseplate also gets some small decoration that creates extra story possibilities. There is a campfire with a place to eat, but also a trans-dark blue 1x1 tile that clearly represents a gemstone here. That works well together with the light gray metal detector. The red modified 1x1 plate with vertical U-clip represents a fish that the minifigures can cook over the campfire. And that is something this set does quite well. It contains many small storylines. That is also why I definitely do not want to give this set a negative review. There is simply a lot that makes Rocky River Retreat worthwhile. If I do have criticism, it is mainly about the placement of the cabin and the rock formation. For me, the white fence element was not really necessary. If the cabin had been placed a little more to the left, there would have been more space between the cabin and the rock structure. That area could then have been developed better, with an extra ladder, a walking path, or a clearer access point to the bridge. Because as it is, the suspension bridge does not really lead anywhere. Visually, it works well, but functionally you end up stuck on top of the rocks without a clear way forward. I also find it a pity that the center studs on the baseplate are left unused in the main model. No bridge section, rock, dock, or other building detail is attached. That row of studs is exactly what makes the plate more interesting than a regular printed baseplate. I am also not completely convinced by all the different colors in the scene. On the 4x4 and the boat, the color scheme feels much more coherent, but in the landscape itself, I miss some uniformity. For me, the rock panels could have been light gray. That alone would already have made the whole scene feel calmer and more consistent. But those remain personal impressions, and for me, they do not really take away from the strength of the set. In the end, Rocky River Retreat also invites you to move things around, expand the scene, or build it differently. The unique baseplate alone already earns this set a nice place in my collection, and as a complete set, it offers a lot for a town model from 1993. Decoration, animals, vehicles, accessories, and several different ways to play with it. As a child, I would definitely have been happy with this. It is the kind of set that you can keep playing with for an entire afternoon after the building is done, without needing much else. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see new videos about my collection every Sunday, subscribe to my channel. It is completely free. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.